You built the betrayal, I'll build the consequences.
My wife handed me the divorce papers on a Tuesday morning, right between my first cup of coffee and the moment I realized my entire life had been a carefully orchestrated lie. "You have 48 hours to get out," Sophie said, her yoga-toned arms crossed like she was posing for some twisted wellness magazine. "Liam owns this place now." Liam. Of course it was Liam, the guy who sold overpriced supplements to desperate housewives and thought kombucha was a personality trait. I guess she finally found someone who matched her level of pretentious BS. "Liam owns our house?" I asked, taking another sip of coffee. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was drinking from the mug that said "World's Best Husband." Sophie had given it to me last Christmas. Apparently the warranty had expired. "It's not your house anymore, Evan," she said, and I caught that little smirk she tried to hide. The same one she used when she caught someone gossiping at her yoga studio. "I've been planning this for months. The papers are all signed." Months, not weeks, not a sudden decision after some big fight. Months of planning while she kissed me goodbye every morning, while she asked about my day, while she let me fix the leaky faucet in our bathroom just last weekend. "Well," I said, setting down the mug with deliberate calm, "I guess congratulations are in order. You finally found someone who thinks your chakras are aligned." Her face flushed red. Sophie always hated my sarcasm, especially when it hit too close to home. "Don't be an a-hole about this, Evan. We both know this marriage has been dead for years." Dead for years. Funny how I'd been the only one trying CPR. I looked around our kitchen, my kitchen, where I'd installed those custom cabinets she'd begged for, where I'd retiled the backsplash twice because she couldn't decide between subway tiles and hexagons. Every corner of this house had my sweat in it. I'm a handyman by trade, used to be a firefighter before my back gave out, and I'd spent 3 years turning this place from a fixer-upper into something worth living in. "So, Liam just swooped in and bought our house out from under me?" I asked. "That's impressively cold, even for you." "It's called being smart, Evan. Something you'd understand if you ever thought beyond your next beer with Matt. Matt, my best friend who owned the local bar where I'd been drowning my sorrows every Thursday for the past 6 months, wondering why my wife had suddenly developed an interest in evening yoga classes 3 times a week. Evening yoga classes with Liam. "Where's Ava in all this?" I asked, thinking of our 13-year-old daughter who was currently at school, blissfully unaware that her world was about to implode. "Ava will adjust. Kids are resilient." Resilient? Like that was supposed to make me feel better about destroying our daughter's stability, so Sophie could play house with her supplement-peddling boyfriend. My phone buzzed. A text from Nina, Sophie's best friend and partner in suburban chaos. "Hope Evan takes it well. Liam's so much better for you." I showed Sophie the screen. "Your friend seems excited about my impending homelessness." Sophie grabbed my phone, deleted the message, and handed it back. "Nina's just being supportive." "Supportive of what? Your midlife crisis?" "It's not a crisis when you're moving towards something better." Better. I looked at my wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, standing in the kitchen I'd renovated, wearing the designer yoga pants I'd paid for, planning to kick me out of the house I'd made livable so she could move in her new boyfriend. "You know what, Sophie? You're absolutely right." I stood up, stretched, and gave her my biggest smile. 48 hours is plenty of time." She blinked, clearly expecting more of a fight. "Really?" "Really. In fact, I think this is the best thing that could happen to both of us." Her relief was palpable. "I'm glad you're being mature about this." Mature. If only she knew what I was actually thinking. I spent the rest of the morning in my workshop, pretending to pack tools while actually planning. Sophie thought she was so clever, but she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd underestimated exactly how well I knew this house, this neighborhood, and her. Around noon, Liam showed up. He knocked on my front door like he was already the man of the house, wearing one of those expensive workout shirts that cost more than most people's weekly groceries. His Tesla was parked in my driveway because of course it was. "Evan, right?" He extended his hand like we were meeting at a business conference. "I'm Liam. I think Sophie mentioned me." "Once or twice," I said, not taking his hand. "Usually in the context of evening yoga sessions." He had the decency to look uncomfortable for about half a second before his salesman's smile kicked back in. "Look, man, I know this is awkward, but I want you to know there's no hard feelings on my end. Sophie and I, we just connected on a deeper level, you know? Spiritual compatibility." Spiritual compatibility. This guy was even worse than I'd imagined. "That's beautiful, Liam. Really." Nothing says spiritual connection like buying your girlfriend's house while she's still married. It's not like that, he said, but his voice had that defensive edge that told me it was exactly like that. Sophie needed someone who understood her journey. Her journey, from married mother to homewrecker, apparently. Well, her journey is about to get a lot more interesting, I said. What's that supposed to mean? I smiled at him. The same smile I'd given Sophie that morning. The same smile I used to give people when I was pulling them out of burning buildings and they asked if everything was going to be okay. Nothing at all, Liam. Welcome to the neighborhood. He left looking confused, which was exactly how I wanted him. That evening, Sophie came home with boxes. Not moving boxes for me, moving boxes for herself. Or rather, moving boxes she was unpacking. Liam's stuff, from the looks of it. Organic protein powder, meditation cushions, and enough essential oils to stock a small pharmacy. You're moving him in already? I asked. It makes sense, she said, not meeting my eyes. Why should he pay rent on his apartment when he owns this place now? Owns this place. The words hit like a punch to the gut, but I kept my expression neutral. Makes perfect sense, I agreed. Very practical. She looked suspicious. You're being weird. I'm being cooperative. Isn't that what you wanted? That night, I lay in bed, our bed for 36 more hours, and listened to Sophie on the phone with Nina, their voices carrying through the thin walls. He's taking it too well, Sophie was saying. It's making me nervous. Maybe he's just relieved, Nina replied. You said yourself he's been checked out for years. Still, I expected more of a fight. Honey, you got everything you wanted. The house, Liam, a fresh start. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. A gift horse. That's what I was to them, something to be grateful for, not something that might bite back. I pulled out my phone and opened the voice recorder app. If Sophie wanted to play games, I could play games too. But unlike her, I'd been a firefighter for 15 years before my back injury forced me into handyman work. I knew how to plan for disasters, and I knew how to fight fires. Sometimes, though, you had to let them burn. Wednesday morning arrived with all the subtlety of a freight train. I woke up to the sound of Liam's Tesla pulling into my driveway at 7 a.m., followed by the unmistakable noise of someone trying to be quiet and failing spectacularly. Sophie was already gone. Early morning yoga class, or so she claimed. Probably meeting with her lawyer to make sure all the I's were dotted and T's crossed on my eviction. I made coffee and watched through the kitchen window as Liam unloaded box after box from his car. The man had more supplements than a GNC store and enough meditation gear to start his own ashram. He kept looking toward the house nervously, like he expected me to come charging out with a baseball bat. The thought had occurred to me, but I had better plans. My phone rang. Matt. How you holding up, brother? He asked. Oh, I'm fantastic. Currently watching my replacement move into my house. It's like Christmas morning. If Santa was a narcissistic wellness coach and all the presents were organic protein powder. Matt's laugh was bitter. You want me to come over? Moral support? Nah, I'm good. Actually, I'm better than good. I'm educational. What's that supposed to mean? It means I'm about to teach some people about the difference between owning a house and understanding it. Evan, relax, Matt. I'm not going to burn the place down. I built most of it myself, remember? I'm just going to help them settle in. After I hung up, I spent an hour in the basement, reacquainting myself with the house's various systems. Plumbing, electrical, HVAC, all installed by me, all with little quirks that only I knew about. For instance, the main water valve had a tendency to stick if you didn't turn it just right. And the circuit breaker for the master bedroom had a loose connection that I'd been meaning to fix for months. Amazing how these little maintenance issues suddenly didn't seem so urgent anymore. Around 10, Liam knocked on the door again. Hey, Evan, sorry to bother you, but I'm having some trouble with the water pressure upstairs. Sophie said you might know what's going on. I looked at him with the most helpful expression I could manage. Water pressure issues, that's weird. A system was working fine yesterday. Yeah, it's strange. The shower in the master bedroom is barely trickling. The master bedroom. My bedroom, where I'd spent 8 years sleeping next to a woman who was apparently planning my exile while I dreamed about our future together. Could be a blockage in the line, I said. These old houses, you know. Sometimes debris gets stuck in the pipes. I can take a look if you want. His relief was pathetic. Would you? That would be amazing. I followed him upstairs, toolbox in hand, trying not to think about how many times I'd walked this same path to fix some problem or another. The master bedroom looked different already. Liam's meditation cushions in the corner where my reading chair used to be. his organic cotton sheets on the bed where Sophie and I used to, well, where we used to be married. See? Liam said, turning on the shower. A pathetic dribble emerged from the shower head. I nodded seriously, crouched down, and pretended to examine the pipes under the sink. What I actually did was reach behind the vanity and adjust the shutoff valve I'd turned earlier. Not enough to completely stop the water, just enough to make everything frustrating. Try it now, I said. Liam turned the shower back on. Perfect pressure. Wow, thanks. What was it? Just a partial blockage. Cleared itself out when I jiggled the pipes. Might happen again, though. These old systems are temperamental. Should I call a plumber? Up to you, I said, packing up my tools. Though most plumbers around here charge $150 just to show up. Your call? He winced at the price, which told me everything I needed to know about Liam's finances. Buying my house had probably stretched him thinner than he wanted to admit. Good. That afternoon, Sophie came home with groceries and found Liam in the kitchen, trying to figure out why the garbage disposal wasn't working. It was fine this morning, he was saying as I walked through with a box of my tools. Now it just hums but doesn't grind anything. I paused in the doorway. Garbage disposal acting up? Sophie looked at me suspiciously. You know anything about that? Could be a jam, I said helpfully. Sometimes when people put the wrong things down there, like coffee grounds or eggshells, it can cause problems. Did you run any food waste through it today? Liam looked guilty. I made a smoothie this morning. Put the leftover fruit pulp down the drain. I shook my head sympathetically. Ah, that'll do it. Fruit pulp can really gum up the works. You need to reset it. There's a button on the bottom of the unit. What I didn't mention was that I'd already reset it, twice, after jamming it with a strategically placed spoon that I'd retrieved once they left the kitchen. You're being awfully helpful, Sophie said after Liam went to look for the reset button. Just trying to make the transition smooth, I replied. After all, you'll be living with these little quirks long after I'm gone. Seems only fair to share what I know. She studied my face like she was trying to read my thoughts. Good luck with that, sweetheart. I'd had years of practice hiding my feelings from her. That evening, they decided to throw a little housewarming party. Nothing big, just a few friends to celebrate their new life together. Sophie's yoga crowd, mostly, the kind of people who said namaste unironically and paid $20 for kombucha. I was in my workshop, supposedly packing, when the guests started arriving. Through the window, I could see them all congratulating Sophie and Liam, admiring the house, talking about what a beautiful space they'd created together. The house I'd rebuilt from the studs up, the garden I'd planted, the deck I'd constructed with my own hands, working weekends for 2 months straight because Sophie wanted somewhere to do her morning yoga. Around 8 p.m., I heard someone turn on the sprinkler system. Sophie loved to show off the automated system I'd installed last summer. Motion sensors, programmable timers, the works. It was designed to water the garden beds around the patio where they were all standing, admiring the sunset and sipping their organic wine. What they didn't know was that I'd made a small adjustment to the timer earlier, and to the motion sensors, and to the water pressure valve. The first sprinkler head popped up right next to where Nina was standing, holding forth about Sophie's journey to authentic living. The spray caught her mid-sentence, soaking her white linen dress. Then the second head activated, and the third. Within 30 seconds, every sprinkler in the system was running full blast, turning the patio into a water park. Guests scattered, shrieking, clutching their wine glasses and running for cover. I watched from my workshop window as Liam frantically tried to find the shutoff valve. Sophie screamed at him to do something, and Nina stood dripping on the lawn, looking like a drowned yoga instructor. The best part? The system I'd installed had a safety feature that prevented manual override for the first 10 minutes of any cycle. You know, to prevent accidental shutoffs during scheduled watering times. Very thoughtful of me, really. I waited exactly 10 minutes, then walked outside with a concerned expression. Everything okay out here? I asked, raising my voice over the sound of running water. The sprinklers won't shut off, Sophie yelled. Oh no, I said, jogging over to the control box. This happened once before, remember? There's a trick to it. I opened the panel, pretended to fiddle with that controls for a moment, then flipped the master switch. The sprinklers died instantly. Must be a glitch in the programming, I said to Liam, who was standing there soaked and furious. I've been meaning to have someone look at that. The party was effectively over. Half the guests had already left. The other half were wringing out their clothes and making excuses. Sophie looked mortified, Liam looked furious, and Nina looked like she wanted to crawl into a hole and disappear. I'm really sorry about this, I said to the remaining guests. If anyone needs towels, there's a stack in the hall closet. And hey, Matt's bar is just down the street if you want to dry off and grab a drink. First round's on me. Most of them took me up on the offer, which left Sophie and Liam standing alone on their soggy patio, looking at the mess that was supposed to be their celebration. "This is your fault," Sophie hissed at me. "My fault. How is a sprinkler malfunction my fault?" "You know exactly how." I gave her my most innocent look. "Sophie, I'm a handyman, not a magician. Sometimes mechanical systems fail. It's just bad timing." "Bad timing," Liam repeated, water dripping from his organic cotton shirt. "Very bad timing," I agreed. "But hey, look on the bright side. At least the garden's well watered." I left them standing there and went back to my workshop, where I spent the rest of the evening listening to them argue through the walls about whose fault it was and how they were going to explain this to their friends. Around midnight, I heard Liam's car start up. Through my window, I watched him drive away, leaving Sophie alone in the house that was supposed to be their love nest. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "This isn't over." I smiled and typed back, "You're absolutely right." Thursday morning brought new developments. I woke up to find a police car in my driveway and Officer Martinez standing on my front porch with a very official-looking expression. "Evan Stone?" That's me. "I need to ask you a few questions about some incidents that have been reported at this address." Incidents. Plural. Interesting. "Of course, officer. What can I help you with?" Sophie appeared behind him, wearing her most concerned citizen expression. "Evan, I told Officer Martinez about the problems we've been having." "Problems?" Martinez consulted his notepad. "Your wife says you've been sabotaging household systems, harassing her boyfriend, and making threats." I looked at Sophie with genuine surprise. "Threats? When did I make threats?" "Last night," she said quickly. "You texted Liam threatening him." "I texted Liam? Can I see this threatening message?" Martinez looked at Sophie expectantly. She fumbled with her phone, clearly stalling. Liam has the phone. He's at work." "What kind of work does Liam do?" I asked conversationally. "He's a wellness entrepreneur," Sophie said, like that was a real job. Martinez looked skeptical. "Ma'am, without seeing these alleged threats, there's not much I can do. As for the household problems, mechanical failures aren't criminal matters unless there's evidence of deliberate sabotage." "There is evidence," Sophie insisted. "The sprinkler system, the plumbing problems, the garbage disposal, all of which I helped fix," I pointed out. "Officer, I've been nothing but cooperative. I'm moving out today as requested. My wife wanted a smooth transition, so I've been helping her new boyfriend understand how the house systems work." Martinez made some notes. "Mr. Stone, are you planning to contest the divorce or property settlement?" "No, sir. My wife has made her feelings clear, and I respect that. I just want what's best for our daughter." "Where is your daughter now?" "School," Sophie said quickly. "She doesn't need to be involved in this." "Actually," I said, "Ava's been pretty upset about the whole situation. She's having a hard time understanding why her mom is kicking her dad out of the house." Sophie's face flushed. "Ava will adjust." Martinez closed his notepad. "Ma'am, unless you have concrete evidence of criminal behavior, this sounds like a civil matter. I'd suggest you work with your lawyers to resolve any property disputes." After he left, Sophie cornered me in the kitchen. "I know what you're doing, Evan. Packing? You're trying to make me look bad. The sprinklers, the plumbing, all of it." "Sophie, I fixed the plumbing. I helped with the garbage disposal. I've been nothing but helpful." "You're up to something." I looked at her, really looked at her. 8 years of marriage, and I was just now seeing her clearly. The entitlement, the selfishness, the complete inability to take responsibility for her own actions. "You know what I'm up to?" I said. "I'm up to moving on with my life. You wanted me gone, I'm going. You wanted the house. You got it. You wanted your yoga boyfriend. Congratulations. I'm giving you everything you asked for." "Then why do I feel like you're planning something?" "Maybe because you know you screwed me over and you're waiting for the other shoe to drop." She stared at me for a long moment. "There is no other shoe." "Then you have nothing to worry about." That afternoon, I loaded the last of my tools into my truck and drove to Matt's bar. He had a small apartment above the place that he'd offered me while I figured out my next move. "How'd it go?" he asked, pouring me a beer. "About as well as expected. Sophie called the cops on me this morning." "Jesus, for what?" "Allegedly threatening her boyfriend and sabotaging the house." Matt snorted. "What did you actually do?" "Fixed a few minor mechanical problems, very thoroughly." "Uh-huh. And?" And maybe I didn't mention that those problems might reoccur if not properly maintained. You're evil. I'm educational. My phone rang. Ava. Dad, Mom says you moved out. The pain in her voice hit me like a physical blow. Yeah, sweetheart. I'm staying at Uncle Matt's for a while. Why can't you stay here? This is your house, too. It's complicated, Ava. Your mom and I were having some problems. Because of Liam, smart kid. Too smart for her own good sometimes. Partly because of Liam, yeah. I hate him. He's weird and he smells like patchouli. Despite everything, I laughed. Where'd you learn what patchouli smells like? Mom's yoga friends. They all smell like it. It's gross. Listen, sweetheart. I want you to know that none of this is your fault, okay? Your mom and I, we're going through a rough patch, but that doesn't change how much I love you. Can I come stay with you? My heart broke a little more. Not right now, honey, but we'll figure something out, okay? After I hung up, Matt refilled my beer without being asked. She's a good kid, he said. She deserves better than this. So do you. That evening, I was unpacking in my new temporary home when my phone buzzed with a text from Nina. Hope you're happy. Sophie's been crying all day. I stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back. She got everything she wanted. Why would she be crying? Because you're being cruel. I'm being absent. There's a difference. You know what you did with those sprinklers? Interesting. So Nina knew about my little irrigation adjustment, which meant Sophie had confided in her, which meant Nina was probably in on the whole thing from the beginning. What sprinklers? I typed. Don't play dumb. Sophie knows you sabotaged the party. Nina, I fixed a malfunctioning sprinkler system. If Sophie wants to blame me for mechanical failures, that's her choice. You're pathetic. And you're an enabler. How long have you known about Sophie and Liam? The typing indicator appeared and disappeared several times. Finally, that's not the point. That's exactly the point. You helped my wife cheat on me, and now you're mad that I'm not making it easy for her. She deserves to be happy. So do I. So does Ava. But I guess we don't matter as much as Sophie's happiness, right? No response. I set the phone aside and opened my laptop. Time to do some research. Liam's business, it turned out, was even sketchier than I'd imagined. His wellness company sold overpriced supplements with questionable health claims, targeted mostly at middle-aged women looking for quick fixes. His website was full of testimonials that sounded suspiciously fake, and before and after photos that were clearly stock images. More interesting was his financial situation. Public records showed he'd been sued twice in the past 3 years for breach of contract, and his business license had been suspended once for false advertising claims. So Liam wasn't just a pretentious a-hole. He was a broke, pretentious a-hole who was probably counting on Sophie's assets to keep him afloat, which explained why he'd been so eager to buy the house and why Sophie had been so determined to get me out of it. I made copies of everything I found and stored them in a secure folder. Insurance, in case I needed it later. My phone rang. Sophie. Ava wants to have dinner with you tomorrow night. Okay. Where? Here. At the house. I paused. Your house, you mean? Don't be petty, Evan. She misses you. I miss her too. What time? 6. And Evan, don't try anything stupid. Like what? Like whatever you did to the sprinklers. Sophie, I told you. She hung up. I sat back in my chair, thinking. Sophie was inviting me back to the house, which meant one of two things. Either she genuinely wanted Ava to see me or she was planning something. Given recent events, I was betting on option 2, which meant I needed to plan something too. Friday evening arrived with all the warmth of a tax audit. I stood on the porch of what used to be my house, holding a bag of Ava's favorite takeout, and trying not to think about how strange it felt to knock on my own front door. Sophie answered wearing one of her designer yoga outfits and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Right on time, she said, stepping aside to let me in. The house looked different already. Liam's meditation corner had expanded into what used to be my reading nook, complete with crystals and burning sage. The family photos on the mantle had been replaced with abstract art that probably cost more than my truck payment. Where's Ava? I asked. Upstairs, finishing homework. She'll be down in a minute. I set the takeout bags on the kitchen counter and looked around. Where's your boyfriend? Liam had a business meeting. He'll be back later. Business meeting. Right. Probably trying to convince some other desperate housewife to buy his snake oil supplements. Dad. Ava bounced into the kitchen and threw her arms around me. For a moment, everything else faded away. This was what mattered. Not the house, not Sophie's betrayal, not Liam's pretentious wellness empire. Just my daughter, happy to see me. We ate dinner at the kitchen table, Ava chattering about school and friends while Sophie picked at her salad and checked her phone constantly. Every few minutes, she'd glance at me like she was waiting for something. "How's the new apartment, Dad?" Ava asked. "It's temporary," I said. "Just until I find something permanent. Can I see it?" "Sure, sweetheart. Maybe this weekend." Sophie looked up sharply. "We haven't discussed visitation schedules yet." "What's to discuss? She's my daughter." "And there are legal procedures." "Mom," Ava interrupted, "can we not do this during dinner?" Sophie's phone buzzed. She read the message and frowned. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Liam's running late. His meeting is going longer than expected." I nodded sympathetically, though I suspected Liam's meeting was probably at the bar down the street, trying to drown his sorrows about his failing business and his new financial obligations. After dinner, Ava went back upstairs to finish her homework, leaving Sophie and me alone in the kitchen. "We need to talk," she said. About you trying to sabotage my relationship?" I leaned back in my chair. "How am I sabotaging your relationship?" "The sprinklers, the plumbing problems making Liam feel unwelcome?" "Sophie, I fixed the plumbing problems, and I've been nothing but polite to Liam." "You're planning something, I can feel it." "The only thing I'm planning is moving on with my life." She studied my face. "You're different. Different how?" "Calmer, like you know something I don't." I smiled. "Maybe I've just accepted the situation." "You never accept anything. You always fight." "Maybe I'm tired of fighting." Her phone buzzed again. This time her frown deepened. "Problem?" I asked. "Liam's car won't start. He needs me to pick him up." "Where is he?" She hesitated. "Downtown, at a client meeting." "Downtown. We're the only businesses open at 8 p.m. on a Friday night. We're bars and restaurants." "You should go get him," I said. "I can stay with Ava until you get back." "I don't think—" "Sophie, she's my daughter. I'm not going to kidnap her from her own house." She looked torn between her desire to get me out of the house and her need to rescue her boyfriend. "Fine," she said finally, "but don't touch anything. Wouldn't dream of it." After she left, I spent a few minutes with Ava, helping her with her math homework. Then I did something I probably shouldn't have done, but couldn't resist. I took a look around. Liam had made himself very much at home. His supplements were lined up in the bathroom cabinet like a pharmacy. His meditation books were stacked on my old nightstand. His expensive workout clothes hung in the closet where my shirts used to be. But the most interesting discovery was in the home office. My old home office, where I used to pay bills and manage the household finances. Liam had left his laptop open. I shouldn't have looked. I knew that. But curiosity got the better of me, and one quick glance at the screen told me everything I needed to know. Bank statements, loan applications, legal documents. Liam wasn't just broke. He was drowning in debt. The business lawsuits had cost him more than I'd realized, and his supplement company was hemorrhaging money. He'd bought the house with a loan that he could barely afford, using Sophie's credit as collateral. More interesting were the emails between him and Sophie dating back 6 months. Not love letters, business correspondence, plans to liquidate my assets, discussions about life insurance policies, calculations about how much the house would be worth if they renovated and flipped it. I wasn't just being replaced. I was being liquidated. I heard Sophie's car in the driveway and quickly closed the laptop. By the time she and Liam came through the front door, I was sitting at the kitchen table reading a magazine. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Fine," Sophie said curtly. "You can go now." "Actually," Liam said, "I'd like to talk to Evan for a minute." Sophie looked surprised, but nodded. "I'll check on Ava." After she went upstairs, Liam sat down across from me at the table. His expensive shirt was wrinkled, and I could smell alcohol on his breath. "Rough meeting?" I asked. "Cut the crap, Evan. We both know what's going on here." "Do we?" "You're trying to make me look bad. The sprinklers, the plumbing, all the little problems around the house." I shrugged. "Old houses have problems. I tried to warn you about that. This isn't over." "What isn't over?" "You think you can intimidate me? Make me uncomfortable in my own house?" "My own house." The words hit like a slap, but I kept my expression neutral. "Liam, I think you've got the wrong idea. I'm not trying to intimidate anyone. I'm just trying to move on with my life." "Then move on. Stop hanging around. Stop helping with house problems. Stop confusing Ava about what's happening." "Confusing Ava?" "She thinks you're going to move back in." Sophie had to explain to her that this is permanent. I felt something cold settle in my chest. You discussed my daughter's living situation? She's going to be my stepdaughter soon. Of course we discussed it. His stepdaughter, Ava, who barely knew this man, who complained about his patchouli smell and his weird meditation rituals. That's ambitious, I said, considering you've known Sophie for what, 6 months? We have a deep connection, something you obviously never understood. Obviously, he leaned forward, trying to look intimidating. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to stay away from this house unless it's specifically to see Ava. No more helpful handyman visits, no more friendly advice about house maintenance. And you're definitely not going to interfere with my relationship with Sophie. Or what? Or I'll make your life very difficult. I looked at him. Really looked at him. This man who'd bought my house with money he didn't have, moved in with my wife while she was still married to me, and was now threatening me in my own kitchen. Liam, I said quietly, you have no idea what difficult looks like. Something in my voice must have gotten through to him, because he sat back in his chair. Is that a threat? It's a fact. You want to play games? I've been playing games my whole life. You want to make threats? I spent 15 years running into burning buildings while other people ran out. You think you scare me? Sophie's footsteps on the stairs interrupted us. When she came back into the kitchen, Liam was studying his hands and I was reading my magazine. Everything okay down here? She asked. Perfect, I said, standing up. Just getting to know my replacement. I kissed Ava goodbye, nodded politely to Sophie, and let myself out. But as I drove back to Matt's bar, I was already planning my next move. Because Liam was right about one thing. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Saturday morning brought rain and a phone call from my lawyer, Janet Morrison, a sharp-tongued woman in her 50s who'd handled my divorce paperwork with the efficiency of a military operation. We have a problem, she said without preamble. What kind of problem? The kind where your ex-wife is claiming you're harassing her and her boyfriend. She wants a restraining order. I sat up in bed, suddenly wide awake. Based on what? Alleged threats, property damage, stalking behavior. She's got witness statements from friends saying you've been acting erratically. Witness statements from Nina, you mean? Among others. Evan, I need to ask you directly. Have you been messing with their house? Sabotaging things? I considered my answer carefully. I've helped fix a few mechanical problems, plumbing issues, sprinkler malfunctions, that sort of thing. That's not what I asked. Janet, I'm a handyman. When I see a problem, I fix it. If that makes me look suspicious, so be it, she sighed. They're also claiming you broke into the house and accessed Liam's personal computer. My blood went cold. They have proof of that. Do they need proof? Evan, if there's something you're not telling me, there's nothing to tell. I had dinner with my daughter last night at Sophie's invitation. I didn't break into anything. But you did access the computer. It wasn't a question. Janet had been a prosecutor before she went into family law, and she could read guilt like a book. The laptop was open in the home office. I may have glanced at the screen. Jesus, Evan, what did you see? I told her about the financial documents, the emails between Sophie and Liam, the evidence that I was being systematically liquidated rather than simply divorced. That's actually helpful, she said when I finished. If we can prove they've been planning this financial assault for months, it changes the whole dynamic of the divorce proceedings. Can we use it? Not if you obtained it illegally, but if there are other ways to access the same information. Public records, business filings, loan applications, court documents from his other lawsuits, all public information. I'll see what I can find. Evan, listen to me very carefully. Stay away from that house unless it's a scheduled visitation with Ava. Don't fix anything, don't help with anything, don't even look at anything sideways. They're building a harassment case, and every interaction gives them more ammunition. After I hung up, I sat in the small apartment above Matt's bar, listening to the rain and thinking about how quickly my life had gone from complicated to completely screwed. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Check your email. I opened my laptop and found a message from an anonymous account with a video attachment. The subject line read, "Thought you should see this." The video was grainy, obviously shot from a phone, but the audio was clear. Sophie and Nina sitting in what looked like a coffee shop, talking about me. "He's being way too cooperative," Sophie was saying. "It's making me nervous." "Maybe he's just given up," Nina replied. "Evan doesn't give up. He's planning something." "Like what?" "I don't know, but I can feel it. He's different. Calmer. Like he knows something I don't." You're being paranoid. Am I? The sprinkler thing, the plumbing problems, all the little issues around the house. You said he fixed those problems. That's what makes it suspicious. Since when does Evan help without complaining? Nina laughed. Since never. Remember when you asked him to install that meditation corner? He witched about it for weeks. Exactly. So why is he being so helpful now? Maybe he's trying to win you back. By helping my boyfriend move in? I don't think so. There was more, but I'd heard enough. I forwarded the video to Janet with a note. Received this anonymously. Thought you should see it. She called back within an hour. Where did this come from? No idea. Someone sent it anonymously. Evan, this video shows your ex-wife admitting that you've been helpful, not harassing. It contradicts everything in her restraining order application. So, what does that mean? It means she's going to have a hard time convincing a judge that you're stalking her when she's on video saying you've been fixing problems around the house. What about the computer thing? What computer thing? I don't see any mention of computer access in this video. I smiled. Janet was good at her job. That afternoon, I decided to take a drive through my old neighborhood. Not to spy on Sophie and Liam, just to clear my head and think about my next move. I was surprised to see Liam's Tesla parked outside Nina's house instead of at my old place. Even more surprised to see Liam himself sitting on Nina's front porch, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. I parked across the street and watched. After a few minutes, Nina came outside with a manila envelope. They had a brief conversation that looked tense. Then Liam took the envelope and left. Interesting. I waited until Liam was gone, then walked up to Nina's front door. Evan! She looked startled. What are you doing here? Just driving around, saw Liam leaving, everything okay? She glanced nervously at her neighbors' houses. Fine, everything's fine. He looked upset. It's nothing. Just business stuff. What kind of business do you and Liam have together? Her face flushed. It's not your concern. Probably not. But if it involves my ex-wife or my daughter, it might become my concern. She started to close the door, but I put my hand against it. Nina, I know you think I'm the bad guy here. I know Sophie's convinced you that I'm some kind of monster who's been holding her back from her true happiness. But ask yourself this. If Liam's such a great guy, why does he look like he wants to crawl into a hole every time I see him? Because you've been harassing him. Have I? Or has he been realizing that buying a house he can't afford and moving in with a woman who's still married might not have been the smartest business decision? She blinked. What do you mean? I mean, Liam's broke, Nina. His business is failing. He's drowning in debt, and he's counting on Sophie's assets to save him. The question is, what's he counting on you for? I left her standing in the doorway and walked back to my truck. In the rearview mirror, I could see her watching me drive away, and for the first time since this whole mess started, she looked worried. That evening, I was having dinner at Matt's bar when Sophie called. We need to talk, she said. About Ava. She's asking questions about the divorce, about why you moved out, about Liam. I need you to help me explain things to her. What kind of explanation did you have in mind? The truth, that our marriage wasn't working, that we're better off as friends, that Liam makes me happy. And what about the part where you and Liam have been planning this for months? Do we tell her that truth too? Silence. Sophie, I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you do. The emails, the financial planning, the systematic liquidation of our assets. Should we explain to Ava how Mommy's new boyfriend is using her college fund as collateral for his failing business? You're lying. Am I? Want me to show you the loan documents? Another long silence. How did you... She caught herself. You broke into his computer. I didn't break into anything, but it's interesting that you know exactly what I'm talking about. Evan, listen to me very carefully. If you try to use any information you obtained illegally... Who said anything about illegal? Public records are fascinating, Sophie. You'd be amazed what you can learn from business filings and court documents. I could hear her breathing on the other end of the line. What do you want? She asked finally. I want my daughter to know the truth about what's happening to her family. And what truth is that? That her mother chose money over marriage, and her mother's boyfriend chose debt over honesty. You bastard. Yeah, I said, but I'm an honest bastard. Can Liam say the same? She hung up. I sat back in my chair and smiled. The game was finally getting interesting. Sunday arrived like a storm front, dark and full of potential energy. I was having breakfast at Matt's when my phone rang. Ava, crying. Dad, something's wrong. Mom and Liam are fighting, and she's throwing things, and I'm scared. I was in my truck before she finished talking. Where are you, sweetheart? In my room. They're downstairs yelling about money and lawyers and something about Nina. Nina? The mysterious envelope exchange I'd witnessed yesterday suddenly made more sense. Okay, honey, I'm on my way. Stay in your room and lock the door. Dad, I heard Mom say something about leaving town. With me, my blood turned to ice. What exactly did she say? She told Liam that maybe they should take a vacation somewhere far away until things calmed down. And Liam said, what about school? And she said I could be homeschooled. Homeschooled. In another state where I'd have no legal recourse and no way to see my daughter. Ava, listen to me. I'm 5 minutes away. Don't pack anything. Don't go anywhere with them. And if they try to make you leave the house, you call emergency. Do you understand? Yes, but Dad. No buts. You call emergency if they try to take you anywhere. I made it to the house in 4 minutes, breaking at least 3 traffic laws in the process. Sophie's car was in the driveway, but Liam's Tesla was gone. I didn't bother knocking. Sophie was in the living room, stuffing papers into a suitcase. When she saw me, her face went white. What are you doing here? Ava called. She's scared. She's fine. We're just taking a little trip. Where? That's none of your business. I looked at the suitcase, the scattered papers, the general chaos of the room. Running away, Sophie? We're not running anywhere. We're taking a vacation. With my daughter. With our daughter, who I have legal custody of. Actually, I said, pulling out my phone, you have temporary custody pending the divorce proceedings, which means you can't take her out of state without my permission or a court order. Her face crumpled. Evan, please, you don't understand what's happening. Then explain it to me. She sank into the couch, suddenly looking much older than her 37 years. Nina's blackmailing us. About what? The planning. The emails between Liam and me. She has copies of everything. And she wants money to keep quiet. Sophie nodded miserably. $50,000. Money we don't have. Because Liam spent it all buying this house. Because his business is failing and the bank is calling in his loans. And if we don't pay Nina, she's going to give everything to your lawyer. I sat down across from her, trying to process this information. Nina, Sophie's best friend and co-conspirator, had turned into an extortionist. Where's Liam now? Meeting with Nina, trying to negotiate. And your plan is to run away? Our plan is to disappear until we can figure out how to fix this. Taking my daughter with you. She's my daughter too. Not if you kidnap her, she isn't. Footsteps on the stairs interrupted us. Ava appeared in the doorway, looking scared and confused. Dad, what's happening? I stood up and put my arm around her. Nothing you need to worry about, sweetheart, just some grown-up problems. Are you and Mom getting back together? The hope in her voice broke my heart. No, honey, we're not. Are we really going on vacation? I looked at Sophie, who was staring at her hands. That depends. Where did your mom want to take you? She didn't say, just somewhere far away. How do you feel about that? Ava shrugged. I don't want to leave my friends, or my school, or you. You wouldn't be leaving me, sweetheart. I'd visit all the time. She looked at me with those too smart 13-year-old eyes. Would you really? Before I could answer, Liam burst through the front door looking like he'd been through a blender. We have a problem, he announced, then stopped when he saw me. What's he doing here? Ava called him, Sophie said quietly. Jesus Christ, Sophie, we talked about this. Don't talk to my wife like that, I said, stepping forward. Ex-wife, Liam corrected. And she's my problem now. Actually, I said, it sounds like Nina's your problem now. His face went even paler. What did you tell him? I told him about the blackmail, Sophie said. You told him what? Liam looked like he might have a heart attack. Do you have any idea what you've done? What I've done? This is your fault. Your business, your debts, your stupid plan to buy the house. My plan? You're the one who wanted him gone. You're the one who said we needed to move fast before you figured out what was happening. They were yelling at each other, completely forgetting that Ava was standing right there, watching her world fall apart. Enough, I said loudly. They both turned to look at me. Ava, go pack a bag. You're coming to stay with me for a while. She's not going anywhere, Liam said. Actually, she is. Sophie, you have 2 choices. You can let Ava come with me voluntarily, or I can call my lawyer and have her file an emergency custody motion based on your attempt to flee the state with my daughter. You can't prove we were fleeing. I held up my phone. Ava's phone call is recorded. Your own daughter, crying and scared, saying you were planning to take her away from her home and her school and her father. Sophie's shoulders sagged in defeat. This isn't over, Liam said. You're right, I agreed. It's not, because tomorrow morning I'm filing a motion to have the house sale reversed based on fraud. I'm also going to make sure the IRS knows about your unreported income from your supplement business. You can't do that. Watch me. Oh, and Liam, that $50,000 Nina wants? You might want to pay it, because if those emails become public record in the divorce proceedings, they're going to show exactly what kind of man you really are. He looked like he wanted to hit me. Instead, he stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Sophie was crying now. Evan, please, I know I messed up, but... You didn't mess up, Sophie. You planned this for months. You and your boyfriend systematically destroyed our marriage and our family so you could steal my assets and disappear. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. The only thing you didn't plan for was Nina getting greedy. Ava came back downstairs with a backpack. I'm ready, Dad. I took her hand and headed for the door, then stopped and turned back to Sophie. For what it's worth, I hope you figure out how to fix your Nina problem, because if you don't, she's going to own you for the rest of your life. We left Sophie sitting in the wreckage of her living room, surrounded by the ashes of her carefully laid plans. As we drove away, Ava was quiet for a long time. Finally, she said, Dad, are you and Mom ever going to be friends again? I thought about that question, really thought about it, about forgiveness and moving on and what was best for my daughter. Maybe someday, sweetheart. When the dust settles, when will that be? I looked in the rearview mirror at the house I'd built, where my ex-wife was probably calling her lawyer and her blackmailing best friend and her broke boyfriend, trying to figure out how to salvage something from the disaster they'd created. Soon, I said. Very soon. 3 months later, I was sitting in my new house, a small place across town, but it was mine, when Janet called with the final divorce decree. It's over, she said. You got joint custody of Ava, half the proceeds from the house sale, and your pension stays intact. What about Sophie and Liam? They're broke. The house sale barely covered his debts. Nina took them for $60,000 instead of $50,000, and his supplement business is under investigation by the state attorney general. And Sophie? Teaching yoga classes at a strip mall studio for $12 an hour. I hear she and Liam broke up last month. What about Nina? Janet laughed. Turns out blackmailing your friends is bad for business. Word got around the yoga community. She's persona non grata. I hung up and looked around my new living room, where Ava was doing homework at the kitchen table and Matt was helping me install a new bookshelf. You know what the best part is? Matt said, stepping back to admire our handiwork. What's that? You didn't have to become a monster to win. He was right. I'd been tempted, God knows I'd been tempted, to do things that would have made me no better than them. But in the end, I'd just given them enough rope to hang themselves. Sometimes the best revenge is simply stepping aside and letting people destroy themselves. My phone buzzed. A text from Sophie. I'm sorry. I stared at the message for a long time, then deleted it without responding. Some apologies come too late, and some bridges burn too completely to ever be rebuilt. But that was okay. I had my daughter, my integrity, and my future. And when the ashes finally settled, that was more than enough.